Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
₹500 and ₹1,000 currency notes presently in use will no longer be legal tender from midnight to night. नोटबंदी के बाद 3 लाख करोड़ रुपया जो अतिरिक्त जो कभी बैंकिंग सिस्टम में वापस नहीं आता था वो आया है।
The 8th of November was a black day for our economy and indeed for our democracy.
निश्चित ही ये एक वाटरशेड मूवमेंट जिसे कहते हैं भारतीय अर्थव्यवस्था के लिए था।
November 8, 2016, the day 500 and 1,000 notes were demonetized. 1 year since we on CNBC TV18 take a 360-degree view of the economic, fundamental as well as the social impact on that. This is Power Breakfast. I'm Manglam Malu. With me is Ekta Batra. Morning, Ekta.
Morning, Manglam. Well, it's been 1 year, but we've come a long way despite the reform hurdles that we did face for the markets as well as in terms of flows. We're going to get you that 360-degree view in the next 1 hour as well as through the day. These are top stories. Lackluster trade on Wall Street amidst concerns on the progress of the U.S. tax reforms. The Dow ekes out a record closing high helped by a rally in media stocks. Asia opens weak as investors await Chinese trade data.
An anti-black money drive is an ethical drive.
The 8th of November was a black day for our economy.
Demonetization politics rages strong on its first anniversary. Celebrations and protests on the cards across the country. BJP to observe it as anti-black money day. Opposition to mark it as a black day.
The Insolvency Board amends regulations to force bankers to choose the most credible applicant. While looking to resolve distressed assets, legal experts say new rules are a hint to bankers not to hand over stressed companies to their existing promoters.
In key earnings today, good quarter expected from Petronet LNG on the back of strong volumes at both the Dahej and Kochi terminals. Ashok Leyland profits seen up 30%, revenue growth seen led by a strong mix of volume and realizations. Bharat Forge too likely to post a strong quarter, profits seen rising 51%.
All eyes will be on Arvind's press conference today and a potential demerger announcement. CNBC TV18 learns that the board is mulling demerger of the brand and retail business.
All right, before we get on with analysis, let's take a look at the Asian markets. They are slightly pressured in early trade as we speak after Wall Street posted mixed cues, narrowly mixed as far as the Wall Street is concerned. But there is major data due in today's trading session, which includes the release of China's October trade balance. The SGX Nifty, that one indicates a negative start, but let's take a look at the Nikkei. That one's down 0.4%, and that is despite hitting a 26-year high in yesterday's trading session. The one outperformer there is Toyota. It's raised its annual profit guidance, and there we have that stock gaining higher. The Kospi, that one's up about 0.25%. If you take a look at the other indices, both the Straits as well as the Taiwanese indices should come up for you. Both of them are trading mildly in the red. No big cuts seen there, but a by and large mild red screen. The SGX Nifty, that one should come up for you. Yesterday, remember, was a slightly weakish day for our session or for our markets. The SGX Nifty indicates that that weakness may persist mildly. A flattish start indicated by the SGX Nifty.
Okay, well, let's tell you about Wall Street then. The Dow Jones eked out what was a 4th consecutive record high, while the S&P 500 ended marginally lower and the Nasdaq also fell around 0.4%. CNBC's Hampton Pearson tells us what happened on Wall Street overnight. Let's go across.
U.S. stocks finishing the day mixed, the Dow adding 8 points, the S&P down a fraction, the Nasdaq off by 18 points. Shares of some home good companies taking a hit today as Amazon launches its own furniture line. The e-commerce giant offering 2 collections, though the items reportedly don't yet work with Amazon's new augmented reality app, which could be a potential competitor to IKEA Place, an app developed by IKEA in collaboration with longtime Amazon rival Apple. At SeaWorld, continuing to see fallout there from the documentary Blackfish, reporting that 732,000 fewer people went to SeaWorld in the past 3 months than during the same period last year. The stock could be seeing a comeback, however, as the company says it's found some success with an image-improving campaign. And Starbucks taking direct aim at Panera Bread. The coffee giant rolling out a bakery concept called Princey on Tuesday, with the first location debuting at its Giant Reserve store in Seattle. The new concept stores will offer an array of baked goods and even pizza. The company plans to eventually have Princey bakeries in all its reserve locations and will start opening standalone sites next year. That's the action from the U.S. market. You have a good trading day in India. Back to you in Mumbai.
Okay, but staying with what's happening in the U.S., geopolitics remains a focus as U.S. President Donald Trump continues his tour of Asia. Speaking to the South Korean President Moon Jae-in in Seoul, Trump said he saw some progress on North Korea and called on the rogue state to come to the table and make a deal on its missile and nuclear program. CNBC's Cherry Kang reports on the same.
A toned-down version of U.S. President Donald Trump speaking in South Korea yesterday. And not only toned down, he even talked about potentially making a deal with North Korea. And if I remember correctly, so far this year, this is the very first time for U.S. President Trump to talk about such a possibility. This is what U.S. President Trump had to say in the joint press conference along with South Korea's President Moon Jae-in. Take a listen to what he had to say.
We hope, in fact, I'll go a step further. We hope to God we never have to use. With that being said, I really believe that it makes sense for North Korea to come to the table and to make a deal that's good for the people of North Korea and the people of the world. I do see certain movement, yes, but let's see what happens.
And I'm just dying to find out what those, quote, movements are. He didn't really get into all the details yet, and he said he would like to just, keep them closer to his heart at this point. So we'll see what kind of movements that he was just talking about there.
All right, the next stop for Trump is Beijing. The U.S. president is expected to tackle issues such as North Korea's nuclear ambitions and trade with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. Trump then attends the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in Vietnam later this week, where he will be among 21 leaders, including Xi and Russia's Vladimir Putin. North Korea and Saudi Arabia are likely to be among the dominant topics. All right, shifting focus across the Atlantic in the European markets, though they've closed lower as investors monitored a fresh batch of corporate earnings. German company Zalando, that one reported a weak set of numbers. That stock was down 5%. Also, Pandora, the jewelry maker, lowered its annual guidance. That stock too took a hit. So across the frontline indices, cuts of nearly 0.5% to 2/3% was seen. If you take a look at the reversal in commodity prices, that too affected. In Data Watch, we got retail sales coming, which rebounded in September, largely reflecting a recovery in food sales. However, that did not do much for the markets. The German industrial production too declined more than expected in September, but the output, that one expanded for the third quarter as a whole, signaling a robust underlying trend. Despite that, weakness across the peripheral indices as well. The key underperformer there was the ATHEX index, which was down almost 1.8%. All the other indices too lost in trade, but the one index that really stood out was the Russian index. Remember, it was shut day before yesterday in trade, and the rally that we saw in oil prices took the Russian index higher, so a bit of a catch-up trade taking place there too. 3.5% seen there. Not the same can't be said about the Russian markets, or the Brazilian markets rather, down 2.5%.
Okay, well, let's tell you about the currency space. The dollar has slipped broadly, hurt by reports that suggested the implementation of a centerpiece corporate tax cut under discussion in the U.S. tax reform plans could now be delayed.
In the world of commodities, crude oil prices eased after having posted its largest gain in 6 weeks the previous day, while tension flared between Saudi Arabia as well as Iran. just as the Saudi crown prince tightened his grip on power. The OPEC, led by Saudi Arabia, has agreed to restrain crude output by 1.8 million barrels per day, together with 10 other nations, that includes Russia, until March 2018. OPEC, remember, meets later this month and has been widely expected to extend that deal.
Well, back home on Dalal Street yesterday, the market in fact logged its biggest single-day fall that we've seen in 6 weeks on profit booking. This is as there was a surge in crude oil prices, which stoked fears of a rise in inflation back home. Plus, we had negative news which came in from the pharmaceutical space, which really dampened sentiment, and the Nifty Pharma Index was the top loser on the indices yesterday. Naveen Shetty joins in to apprise us of what we can expect in today's trading session. Naveen, over to you. Morning.
Good morning, Ekta. As you pointed out, yeah, it was a single-day fall, biggest single-day fall in the last 6 weeks, and we ended closer to the low point of the day. This was actually exacerbated by the overall high crude oil prices, and also remember, in terms in the futures market, the Nifty PCR, the PCR actually came down from 1.55 levels to almost 1.43 levels. While coming down, what had happened is the put writers, they did a lot of covering at different levels, from beginning from 10,100, as low as 10,100, to going up to 10,000, 10,200, as well as 10,400. There was short writers, put writers actually did a lot of covering, and that also led to a premium increasing in most of these puts. On the other hand, as you clearly pointed out, the pharma stocks, they were the ones in the second half who were beaten down, led by Lupin post the warning letter in their Goa plant, and also which led to we ending at the end point of the day. Apart from this, if you see the institutional activity, that was also not that positive. DIIs, they sold close to 2,000 crore, and Lupin had a delivery figure of close to 850 crores in the cash market. On the other hand, if you see, one bit of a positive would be that the futures premium, they were around 60 rupees versus around 38 rupees in day before yesterday's session. Now, talking about the global indices, SGX Nifty, that has been indicating a flattish start to the Indian future market. On the other hand, Dow Jones has been flattish, but the European market, they ended the day with a cut of close to 0.4%. Back to you.
All right, Naveen, thanks a lot for that. That's as far as the markets are concerned, but what are the stocks that you're watching out for in trade today?
So, Mangalam, lots and lots of results that will be coming in today, as well as the result reactions on the back of which the stocks will be moving today post the results post-market yesterday. But talking about the results that are today, quite a few important ones, the likes of Arvind. Remember, apart from the results, Arvind will also be holding a press conference, as CNBC TV18 had alerted you earlier. We will be seeing some kind of a strategic announcement. On the other hand, Bharat Forge, Ashok Leyland, Pidilite, the likes of CESC will be posting their Q2 numbers. On the other hand, a lot of these stocks will be reacting on the back of the numbers that they posted post-market yesterday. So if you see the weak earnings, RSWM, clearly weak set of numbers. The textile, most of these textile companies, Spain seems to be continuing from them. Strong show if you see from the likes of Polaris. On the other hand, Huhtamaki PPL as well as Filatex, they have been posting strong numbers. Losses have been reducing for Ballarpur Industries post the fund infusion that we saw from Edelweiss. On the other hand, good set of numbers where the likes of Jindal saw, Himmat Singha Seed, as well as SL Propack. One last mention I would like to do is of Ad Labs. Remember, noted investor Radhakrishnan Damani, he bought close to worth rupees 212 crore from for Novotel Imagica. So that stock is expected to be up in trade today on the back of their deleveraging exercise. Back to you.
Okay, all right, Naveen, thanks very much for that. Time for a break now. But as we mark the first anniversary of the note ban, BJP Congress set stage for a face-off. Did the demonetization shock therapy work? More on that after.
Today marks 1 year since the announcement of the demonetization of 500 and 1,000 rupee notes. Even as the pain of note ban seems to be easing out, the politics over note ban has certainly not died down. While the BJP will be celebrating this 1 year anniversary of demonetization as anti-black money day, various opposition parties have proclaimed today as the Black Day. In fact, here is the war of words between both the former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and the current Finance Minister Arun Jaitley on demonetization. While Jaitley defended the note ban and said that India has now moved to an honest financial system, this comes after the former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh reiterated that demonetization was an, and I quote, organized loot and legalized plunder.
The 8th of November was a black day for our economy and indeed for our democracy.
निश्चित ही ये एक वाटरशेड मूवमेंट जिसे कहते हैं भारतीय अर्थव्यवस्था के लिए था.
Demonetization has proved to be mere bluster to reap political dividends, while the real offenders have escaped. I repeat, as I stated in Parliament, this was organized loot and legalized plunder.
An anti-black money drive is an ethical drive. An anti-black money step is a moral step. लूट तो वो होती है जो 2G में हुई.
None of the stated objectives of eliminating black money, terror financing, and counterfeit currency have been met.
एक तर्क ये कि लोगों ने सारा पैसा बैंक में डिपॉजिट कर दिया, वो तो अच्छा हुआ डिपॉजिट किया. Cash is laundered in the system. जब वो बैंक में आता है तो उसकी मालकियत किसकी है, ओनरशिप किसकी है, पता चल जाती है.
Okay, well, so 1 year after demonetization, was the pain worth it? Here is the cost-benefit analysis from some of the top economists in the country.
Demonetization as a whole has both the positives and negatives. And it is not as if it has removed black money, although it has certainly reduced the total volume during the course of the demonetization period.
The costs of demonetization were felt basically in the September to December quarter last year and January to March quarter this year. And my estimate of how much loss there was to the economy was somewhere around 0.3 to 0.4% of GDP on an aggregate annual basis, and if you will, for those 2 quarters, about 0.8% of GDP.
We need to be careful here because the economy was already slowing well before demonetization. So just to look at the endpoints and attribute all of the slowdown to demonetization is not fair. The subsequent slowdown is also impacted by the destocking from GST. So one has to be very careful about teasing out the impact of demonetization.
The demonetization can be read as a success, which is at the moment there is roughly 3 lakh crores of currency less in the economy than before November 8th. But my sense is that this 3 lakh crore is what was actually greasing the wheels of the informal sector economy.
I know that certain long-term gains that some people were speculating about have not come. And I'm terribly sorry, I didn't think those gains would come. I don't think that this would have resulted in 1 lakh crores or 50,000 crores or 25,000 crores coming into the government budget.
All right, let's move on then. The Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, they've amended the regulations. They govern the one that govern the resolution process to force the bankers to back the most credible plan. The amendments mandate the applicants to disclose the associate and the subsidiary companies of the applicant, as also any criminal proceedings or disqualifications under various acts. Legal Eagles told CNBC TV18 that these amendments seem to hint to the bankers to look at the sustainability of the plan rather than the size of the haircuts they have to take. The regulations, by stressing on the credibility of the resolution applicant, almost appear to be an attempt to dissuade bankers from choosing the existing promoter of a defaulting company.